Welcome to the Half Past Podcast. This is Season 1, Episode 1, the movie review of the Avengers Age of Ultron. I'm Graham Ricks, and here with me is my friend and co-pilot, Ian Jones.
I'm wearing my Captain America shirt, and I'm ready to go.
Alright, let's do this. So, I got something to get off my chest, Jones, before we get into this Ant-Man trailer.
Okay.
Why is it that every time you go to the movie theater and you want to get some popcorn and some drinks, the workers are just at a snail's pace? They're very casual. Nobody looks like they're in a hurry for anything.
Well, okay, so you and I went to the first showing, the 8:30 a.m. showing.
8:30 in the morning.
And it was a madhouse for the Avengers. And I get it. I understand it.
It doesn't make any sense. It's one of those things that just grinds my gears. I can't believe that regardless of how many people are in the line, it's from one person to 15 people in their line. Their speed never increases or decreases. It's just at this casual pace at all times. Nobody's hurrying to get popcorn or drinks or anything. They don't even have any expediters getting stuff. It's just a weird thing.
Yeah. Well, I think part of the problem is people will stand in those lines when they're long, and they won't make up their mind about what they're getting. And so they don't tell them everything at once, so they're still figuring it out by the time they get up there.
Which is just absolutely ridiculous. The other thing is, when you go to the movie theater and you get candy, popcorn, or drinks or everything, they're obviously overpriced because that's the only way they make any money. They're not making that much money off the ticket sales. So you think that those patrons, they would want to get as swiftly as possible. They're the ones paying the money so that they can make their money. I just never understood why every time we go to the movie theater, it's just casual pace from those guys.
You know, waiting in that long line, I saw a lot of Captain America shirts. And I feel like everyone there didn't realize they were already picking a side. Because Civil War is coming.
Civil War is coming.
Just like Winter. Winter is also coming.
Winter's been coming for 5 seasons.
Yeah.
Enough of that. Let's get into this Ant-Man trailer. So, we went to go see Avengers Age of Ultron, and there's a lot of trailers that we saw. The one that we wanted to do, we thought was fitting, was Ant-Man. And the Ant-Man trailer looks really fun. I think it's going to be a real fun movie, and I also like seeing Paul Rudd not in a Judd Apatow movie. You know?
Right.
And I also noticed during that trailer they had the bald guy, Corey Stoll, I think, he's been in a lot of other TV shows and everything, but he's also been in that TV show The Strain by Guillermo del Toro. You ever watch that one?
Yes.
It's okay. I like the way it looks and everything, but it's a very okay show. I have been watching as much as I could. I really like the shrinking effect that they did with it. It almost looks like how they did it in the comic book, where it has almost like an aura of him shrinking in stages. And it has that look about it every time he shrinks down. And I think that just looks really cool.
I think, like most people, I was really concerned because I've seen bits and pieces of Ant-Man, and I'm just thinking, this is going to look like Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, like, the whole time. Like, what a stupid idea. So I was so happy that when we got to see this trailer, like, it restored some faith in me, because I'm just thinking, this is going to be a nasty strikeout. Like, Marvel's due for a strikeout. You can't have all your movies be really good, and this could be the big swing and a miss. But from this trailer, it looks like it's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, it looks really good, and it seems like they're going with the Scott Lang version of Ant-Man. and instead of doing what's his name, Harry Pym, who Michael Douglas looks like is who he's playing. So it's going to be interesting. And there's also the scene where he's like kissing his daughter on the forehead, who eventually becomes a version of Ant-Man, also Cassie Lang. So I think it's going to be real fun just to see how they deal with this new character, because he's definitely not one of the more well-known Marvel characters, although neither were the Guardians of the Galaxy, and they did very good job in Guardians of the Galaxy. All right, man, let's go ahead and get into the review. All right, the Avengers assemble again to take on a runaway program. The Avengers Age of Ultron, written and directed by Joss Whedon, who also did the first one. Produced by Kevin Feige.
Feige?
Feige?
Feige, right?
I thought it was Feige.
Okay, we're gonna have to Google this.
Or is it Feige?
Kevin Feige.
I thought it was Feige.
No.
Feige? I think it's Feige.
No, it's Kevin Feige.
Is it?
Yes.
Are you sure?
I'm pretty sure.
I thought it was like Feige.
I wouldn't be comfortable introducing him to someone at a party.
Oh, well,
because
fantastic.
I'd get it wrong, I'm sure. Google that.
Starring Robert Downey Jr. as Tony Stark and Iron Man, who also starred in the Chaplin movie, which, have you seen the Charlie Chaplin movie?
I have. It's awesome.
It is very good. He got nominated for an Academy Award, and I think he should have got it. I don't know who won, but I don't think they deserve it as much as Robert Downey Jr. and Charlie Chaplin. It's a really good movie.
He's the best looking Dr. Frankenstein ever.
Chris Hemsworth as Thor from Cabin in the Woods, Snow White and the Huntsman, which the Cabin in the Woods, that is a really fun horror comedy movie. God, I love that movie, which is another... I'm not sure if Joss Whedon wrote that one.
Yeah, he...
or did he just produce it?
I think he produced it, but there were a lot of elements of that movie that were really close to Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Yeah, uh-huh.
So, it's really a gem that I think flew under the radar. And I think Chris Hemsworth should just change his name to Thor. He should just, everything he stars in, even if it's a chick flick, should just be, Thor.
Snow White and the Huntsman, which actually, I saw that movie. It was not bad. It was definitely Kristen Stewart's best movie. Because the others are just awful.
Oh, that's awesome.
Now, we also have Mark Ruffalo as Bruce Banner, the Hulk, who's in Where the Wild Things Are, Shutter Island. And you know what, Jones? When are we going to get a standalone Mark Ruffalo Hulk movie? I really want that to happen. And before we get into the plot, but it kind of seems like he's getting one, right?
Well, if only Jack Kirby could see how perfect this is.
Oh, man. Every single time I see one of these Marvel movies and I see Stan Lee and Jack Kirby, I always feel bad because I'm like, man, he lived long enough to kind of see the decline of comic books, and he just didn't get a chance to see this huge resurgence. It's a renaissance, really. And it just depresses me a little every time that he died in like the 80s, but it's just disappointing. Chris Evans, who plays Steve Rogers, Captain America, who's in The Losers, and he doled into that another hero movie, Fantastic Four movies, which are just...
We're not going to talk about.
Awful. Just terrible. Well, the new one looks better, though, I think.
Well, we'll see.
But those old ones, man, I actually... They were on, like, FX or something, like, a few weeks ago. And I turned it on just to see, because I hadn't seen it, like, since it came out almost. And they're in the kitchen scene where the Thing is having trouble picking up a fork, and Chris Evans just like takes his food away from him, and then he lights like the cereal box on fire or something. And I'm like, this movie is awful. It's just terrible. It's absolutely terrible.
They made a lot of money, but that doesn't mean they were good.
They were very low quality.
I think the suit in Winter Soldier was better.
Oh, yeah. Definitely. So we have Scarlett Johansson, who played Natasha Romanoff in Black Widow. See her in Don John and Lucy.
Isn't it time for Black Widow movie?
It is. It probably is time for a Black Widow movie. I would watch Scarlett Johansson in anything, so it just doesn't matter anyway.
Well, there's that.
Jeremy Renner as Clint Barton and Hawkeye. He was also in The Town, which he got the Academy Award for Best Supporting Actor, and he is very good in that movie.
Yeah.
He was definitely a shining spot of The Town. The Town was actually just really good overall anyway. And I think Ben Affleck did a good job, and he was directing that one also, but Jeremy Renner's performance in that, that was the first time I really had saw Jeremy Renner in something, and I instantly fell in love with the dude. I was like, I like this guy, and I've been watching all of his movies since, and I just love to see him as Hawkeye, and I hope he continues on.
He always seems, though, in the movies he's in, to have a very exciting job and a very boring home life.
Yes. We also have James Spader as Ultron, who also played in Stargate and is in the NBC's TV show The Blacklist, which that show is very good. I definitely enjoy that show, and I feel like there's a hint of that character in Ultron also.
Yeah, I think the only thing good about the show is James Spader.
Yeah, he does a fantastic job as Red in The Blacklist. Very good. If anybody hasn't seen the Blacklist, definitely give that a watch. It's on Netflix. The first season's on Netflix. Go ahead and watch that one. Next up we have here is Samuel L. Jackson as Nick Fury. Now, he's done over 100 movies. So, the two that I'm choosing to mention is Deep Blue Sea and Coming to America.
Okay, well, he actually... awesome. I was really hoping you would pick two movies where he died in a ridiculous way.
Well, Deep Blue Sea.
He does, yeah. You threw me with the second one.
Deep Blue Sea. When I went to go see Deep Blue Sea, I went to go see Deep Blue Sea in theaters, and he's in that scene where he's doing the avalanche quote scene where he's just doing this soliloquy where he's just like talking about how we should all band together and that they think that the avalanche had killed all those people, but really it was the people themselves turning against each other or something like that. And then right when he's about to do his final words, the shark just comes up and snatches him and just takes him under. And like I remember watching that movie. When I watched that scene, I was thinking, I feel like they just ran out of money to pay for them. Like they were just like, nice. I guess we don't have any more money.
I remember being in the movie theater and the whole audience being so surprised that I think everyone peed themselves a little bit when that happened.
It's just such a weird scene. It completely comes out of nowhere. And obviously, Coming to America as the guy that tries to rob the store. He's been in so many. But see, now I'm curious, what other one are you talking about where he dies ridiculously?
Well, he dies ridiculously, I thought, in Star Wars in Jurassic Park. I mean, the only thing left of him in Jurassic Park is an arm.
Oh man, I forgot. Jurassic Park, man. Great freaking movie, and that like started our choice of careers pretty much. And oh man, I forgot about that scene. Hold on to your butts.
I can't get Jurassic Park back online without Dennis Nedry.
Alright, next up we have Don Cheadle as James Rhodes in War Machine. See him in Boogie Nights in that really terrible Mission to Mars movie. Seen that Mission to Mars movie?
No, I didn't.
It's really bad. And it came out around the same time as Red Planet, so it was really weird that it was Mission to Mars and Red Planet. It seemed like they were just like within weeks of each other. And it's like, why did they have these two movies come out?
That's how it always is, though.
With both Mars movies. It's just weird. Sometimes that just happens. And they came out around the same time. They both were not good. But Mission to Mars was the better one.
Yeah, it's, like Deep Impact and Armageddon.
Yeah, right?
It seems like it happens.
Next up, we have Austin Taylor Johnson as Pietro Maximoff and Quicksilver. Seen him in Kick-Ass, Savages, and Shanghai Nights.
Yeah, he was also in Godzilla, and where was this charm hiding in Godzilla?
He had zero charm.
Zero charisma.
Yeah, he does a very good job in this movie. This character, Quicksilver, he just has an aura about him that's really cool in this movie. He puts another little just charm to the movie. Okay. Next up, we have Elizabeth Olsen as Wanda Maximoff and Scarlet Witch. You've seen her in Godzilla, and she's also clearly the best Olsen sister.
In a movie with Iron Man and Darth Spader, yes, she steals the show. She does do a very good job in this movie. As Scarlet Witch, I feel like even just with the Russian accent, I thought was very passable. It's like, yeah, it really didn't bother me. It didn't sound weird to me. Now that we've gone through these characters, let's go ahead and get into our quirks and likes. Alright, so let's get started with my quirks. One of the quirks I have with this movie was the scenes with Bruce and Natasha being together. It seems like it's something that just comes up all of a sudden, and I don't remember any hint of it at all in the previous movie. And it just seems weird that all of a sudden they're just really close to each other. The only reason I'm sort of okay with it is because she's the one who does the lullaby to calm him down so that he gets back to normal. So that kind of makes sense. But for a movie that has so much character-driven aspect to it, it just seems sudden. The other thing I have is, Jones, the death of Quicksilver. Now, what is the deal? Before I went to go see this movie, I was wondering which character was going to die. Because I feel like Joss Whedon cannot keep all characters alive at all. It isn't a party unless someone dies.
Yeah, it's just, God, he was such a cool character. I wasn't sure how he was going to work out in this movie because he's just a glimpse in the after credits in another movie, and then you know that he exists in the other instance of Quicksilver, which bothers the heck out of me because of legal things, which they just need to freaking fix, in my opinion. But he shows up on screen and he just is really good. As a matter of fact, the twins in the movie are a really good part of this movie.
I mean, I felt like from watching the trailers that I knew Quicksilver was going to die because they just showed too much of the trailer. And you know that Joss Whedon is going to kill someone. Someone's going to have to eat it.
Yeah.
So
I actually have very few quirks about this movie because I loved it so much. So let's get into your quirks.
Well, hang on a second. So you brought up the legal thing.
Yes.
So we've seen two movies that have Quicksilver now.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Who do you think wore it best?
Well, that's unfair because in Days of Future Past, that costume was ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous.
Okay,
but as the character, I'm actually not sure. They're both good. They're both good. But I don't.
Well, but I'll tell you. For my money, in Days of Future Past, he steals the whole movie in one scene. I mean, that scene is just so over the top and fun that it kind of just takes the rug out of everyone.
That is very true. The scene where he is just like going around and they do the whole slow motion thing where everybody's almost completely still and he's just like rearranging things to cause havoc. And also preventing things from happening.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is a really cool scene, and I guess that is a very positive aspect of the Days of Future Past version. Which is fine, because that one's technically alive, right?
Well, and I can already tell, right now what's going on the CW is the show The Flash, and that's hugely popular. Mm-hmm. It's a really good show. When in this movie, when they were describing his powers, they were basically describing it in a way that was the Flash's abilities. They've described it the same way, so I can already see fanboys online are going to be debating on whether or not he somehow survives.
Okay.
But even though they don't have a funeral scene at the end for him,
yeah.
Barton does name his son, he gives him the middle name of Pietro.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So I feel like that's he's definitely gone.
Yeah.
But characters do have a way of coming back in comic books.
Yeah, well, that happens all the time in comic books.
Earth's mightiest heroes sure do make a lot of mistakes.
They do. There's a lot of mistakes being done in this movie.
Okay, so in the opening scene, they go after the scepter. The last Hydra base. They take the scepter and they just leave everything else behind. All the stuff that Hydra was working on, all the advanced robotics, everything that Ultron would need, everything that Darth Spader would need to go and fight them. They just left that all behind. We'll deal with this later. Someone else will deal with this. Those townspeople aren't going to get in, and they just never even thought to go there and deal with the fact that they're just leaving all of these, close to finished militarized projects there. And that just really bugged me.
All right.
And so another thing, the destruction of this, the Avengers are hated, and they do save a lot of people at the end. Mm-hmm. But the destruction is so much worse than Man of Steel that I can't believe that.
No.
Yes.
No, I'm stopping you right there.
Yes, it is.
Leveled Metropolis.
They destroyed an entire city.
No.
10 miles. A 10-mile radius of an entire city.
In Man of Steel, the entire city was gone. You can see that in the Avengers, it was definitely a big section of the city, but it wasn't the entire city leveled.
I don't know. I mean, that was vaporized. Now, the one thing I will give you is that at least they got everyone off, just about.
They did. They got them all into the little rescue.
Metropolis, we know that he wasn't there saving everyone.
No, he was not.
So, what happened to all those people?
Well, I'm assuming they're all dead.
And I get that is a big problem that people have with Man of Steel that's probably going to lead into the next movie. But this was some epic level destruction. This is definitely up there. Why does Marvel insist on having this creepy Bond between Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch. They keep forcing it in the comic books, and I really hoped it wouldn't show up. And here it is in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. This weird relationship where, it's like Hydra couldn't have hired some girls to give, like, Quicksilver someone else to be messing around with. And I mean, it is really, it is one of the creepiest relationships that Marvel's ever done. And here it is in a movie.
I didn't even notice any creepiness. My assumption when I was watching it was just that they were very close because they were twins. And that's all I saw about it.
A lot of the framing between them is real similar to how it is in there.
All right.
So we'll see if anyone else has any issues with it. So Jarvis is gone. So the voice in Stark's head will be missed. And so now we have Purple Bettany. and I'm not sure that I like that trade-off. Like, the Vision is cool.
Yes, the Vision is cool.
Jarvis was awesome. Like, this bag-talking voice in Stark's head, who's like the only one who can kind of give him crap about stuff.
Yeah, it's especially
that will be missed.
It is a good counter to how narcissistic Tony Stark is. You're right, and we end up with the Vision. But the Vision is a really cool character, and I like when I was just waiting for the scene where he has Thor's hammer when I was watching the movie. I was just like, okay, he's gonna pick it up. There's no way he's not gonna pick it up. Why would they have that whole scene of them in the bar, like trying to pick up his hammer? And because it's Joss Whedon, he never has things in there that are just there for no reason. Like, so I was waiting for the Vision to pick it up so that everybody would just be like, oh, well, this guy's worthy. Yeah.
Yeah, it got a great reaction from the audience.
Yeah, it did.
It made the point all of a sudden. Mm-hmm. So the movie has some great things that you'd expect to see in the Avengers film, but I felt like there were a lot of similarities between this one and the last one.
There is.
And so that was kind of bugging me that, their plan is to unleash the Hulk against the Avengers, or that, they shot a missile at the city, and this time they're gonna shoot a meteor. And there was just a lot of there were a lot of big things like that. I was just like, we just did this.
Yeah. I get your point.
That being said, it's the Avengers, and it's awesome.
All right, man, let's get into our likes here. Now, before anything, it's just an awesome, awesome movie. Everything about this movie, I really enjoyed it. It was tons of fun. There was lots of character-driven story, and lots of action, and the pacing was great. So just before we get into the detail, I just want to make sure everybody knows that I think this is an awesome movie. Now, specifically, I really enjoyed the intro to the movie. And it kind of reminded me of Pacific Rim, where you go see that movie, and really the only thing I wanted to get out of that movie was giant robots fighting giant monsters. And I got that in the first 10 minutes of the movie before the title even shows up for Pacific Rim. Yeah. And this one does that same thing, except it reintroduces you to all the characters. And I really enjoyed the way they did it, because they had all of them working together still. They had Captain America, you saw Black Widow, you saw them using each other to help fight the bad soldier dudes, the Hydra guys. And after it, there's that comic book cover type scene where you see all of them together, because the camera's going all the way around through them, and it's almost a constant camera feel to it. And then right at one scene, it turns to the side, And you can see all of them. You can Hulk, Black Widow, you can see Hawkeye, you see Iron Man, and they're all sitting there, and it looks like a comic book cover. And I was like, yes, it just introduces all the characters. They go through, you see it introduces the characters, and then you see this like, oh, here it is, here's the Avengers, and it continues on with the plot of the story seamlessly. And I thought that was just really, really awesome. And then it was really cool that how Joss Whedon decided to do that.
The giant A also stands for awesome.
Yes, it does. And James Spader is also a really good aspect of this movie. I think he does a very good job as Ultron. He almost has this like regal feeling to him. Almost like he's like royalty. Like just the way he stands, the way he talks, the way he's animated, and the way James Spader voices him, he just has this almost king royal aspect to him. And I thought that was just really cool about that character.
Yeah, he does have a very arrogant walk about him for a robot. And, I think Ultron was a thing of beauty. Darth Spader is awesome.
The other thing I liked about this movie was I like seeing all the characters having their own scenes and showing up. And I also like how they brought in other nods to other characters. So, for instance, I like the fact that you see the Falcon. You see him at the end of the movie, but you also see him during the party where he's just there at the party. And I just like that was cool that it's like they're continuing to introduce you to this Marvel Cinematic Universe that's been created, which makes these movies so good.
I really liked that they brought back War Machine and Falcon. Even though you see Falcon a little bit, and I was hoping he'd show up in the last fight.
Yeah, I was expecting that too. I was trying to get.
He is there, and it seems like the actual Avengers team is getting closer to what I think the Avengers should be. Mm-hmm. Because the Hulk quits after 2 issues, and he isn't really there. Anymore.
Speaking of the characters that are getting nods to, is I like when they tried to find the vibranium, and they were talking about the Wakanda village, which is obviously a nod to Black Panther, which we will be getting later. And so I got really excited to hear that. I was like, oh, Black Panther, it's got to happen. It's got to happen.
Yeah, they have that line, well, what's in Wakanda?
Yes. I like seeing War Machine, and I also like seeing the Vision come up, which was a pleasant surprise. I wasn't sure. They really didn't say too much about that. At least I didn't see anything too much about that. And I like that they decided to go ahead and continue into that part of the story also with the Vision being created. It was a very pleasant surprise and an interesting twist on that character. The other thing I liked about this movie is the movie as a whole, and this is definitely a credit to Joss Whedon, is it's a very character-driven movie. All of these guys, the amount of character development that Joss Whedon's able to squeeze into this movie is great. I'm just amazed at how he's able to do that. The prime example is all the Scarlet Witch, like nightmare scenes where she does the mind control thing on all of them. And you see Thor having to deal with certain things. You see Black Widow having to deal with her past. And it's a really cool way to squeeze in that background to all these characters in a kind of a simple aspect to it.
And it really makes me want to just see more of those characters individually.
Yeah, it's really, really well done. Oh, the other thing I liked about this character development and this background, and also just the cinematic universe as a whole, is Tony Stark is still dealing with what happened in New York from the previous Avengers movie. We've already had another movie with him in Iron Man 3 where he was dealing with the fact that he had to do what he had to do to save New York in the first Avengers movie. There's still a lot of hints of that in this one, where he's still trying to deal with the fact that he needs to be on point, and he, even in the nightmare scene, it's like he's afraid that all of his friends are going to be killed, and he's going to be the only one left alive.
Which is really something very iconic.
Yeah.
You know, that has a really good nod to the comic books.
Yeah, and the other aspect of the character development is the Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver, just their little scene that they had where they were talking about why they wanted to take out the Avengers, because a shell had hit their home, and a second shell came and it just didn't explode, and all they could see was the name Stark on it the entire time. And so for 2 days they were just hoping that this shell would not explode and kill them both. And just another way that Joss Whedon squeezes in just background to these characters. He's so good at that. And I also enjoyed seeing the background of Clive Barton. You see Mrs. Barton. He's got a family and everything, who is played by Linda Cardellini, who stars in the Bloodline TV show on Netflix. You also see that he has this family life behind him, and that he's been keeping it secret this whole time, and he's trying to focus on everything. And I also like that the other aspect with his character is that you have the fact that his past has involved mind control. It's very interesting how they because Hawkeye is obviously not one of the strongest parts of the team, but there's something amazing about how in that instance where she tries to mind control him, and he's able to counter it. All the other Avengers could not counter it, but he was just like, bam, I've already done the mind control thing. And it was just, they keep making him to make sure that he's definitely a powerful member of the team. And that he's crucial. And I like how they keep doing that with him.
They did a very good job, I think, setting it up to make it look like Hawkeye would be the one who died in that movie.
Yes, they did.
But, you know, I think I already knew what was coming from the trailers anyway. But I think it was a shock for a lot of people in that last sequence.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. The other thing I loved about this movie was all of the fight scenes were fun. Seeing Iron Man in the Hulkbuster armor and seeing him take on the Hulk was just a fun and action-packed scene. I love seeing, just like I saw in the original Avengers, I love seeing the co-op type attacks. It just makes you feel like you're playing a video game. Like, I like the fact that you'll have Captain America will pull up his shield and Thor will hit it, which creates this like sonic boom that just knocks people out. Like that kind of stuff that happens frequent in this movie. And I also like the fact that it seems like everybody in this movie uses Captain America's shield at one point in time in the movie. It seems like all the other Avengers have a scene where they're just like using it. And I thought that that's just another aspect of this movie that's just really cool. How they make sure that these guys are a team. They're a team. They're not just separate characters, that they're working together as a team. And so I just love that about the movie also.
Everyone, I think, gets their due in a good way.
And other than that, just the wildly fun aspect of just Joss Whedon being Joss Whedon. And just like after they pretty much beat the heck out of Ultron, there's just that one scene where he's just like, well, after much reflection, and he just gets knocked out. Yeah. There's just a lot of fun scenes in there throughout the entire movie that are like that, just one-liners, and it just another real aspect to that movie that I like. The other thing that I always look at with all these movies is the special effects, which even after the first one, the first Avengers movie, the special effects in this one is still just awesome. I'm still blown away with the computer graphics in all of these movies. And this one still just amazes me, even though we've seen so many movies with really high-end special effects. This one still is on the top with the rest of them. And it just looks great. I love the way it looks, and I even love how they did the end credits scenes. Also, just with that marble type.
That ZBrush model.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Very, very ZBrush looking.
It's, you and I in particular really enjoy the visual effects side of it, and it's great when that marries with an awesome story and movie, because so often, it may be the case where the story isn't there, or the movie isn't really that great,
but the
visuals are.
Yeah. All right, that's my likes, man. What do you got, Jones?
I really liked. I know you mentioned something earlier on it. I really liked the relationship that they had between the Hulk and Black Widow in this movie, because I felt like it showed that they spent time working together.
Yeah.
And that it did something which I thought was really more important, is it set up potentially a standalone Hulk film.
Yes.
Because he's just sort of flies off.
Yes.
And I was really hoping that jet would just fly off into space, preferably to a planet. But it crashed down on Earth, so we'll see. I think they've got so many good characters that they can work in and keep it fresh. And it just makes me wonder when this goes sideways here, which I think is in 2 years.
Yeah, we'll get the Infinity War.
Who's going to be on whose team?
I don't know. We'll see what happens.
I'm already excited. Let's just do it. Get them done faster. Yeah, we have to see them.
There's even already hints of that in this movie. Just kind of how right when the Vision is essentially finished by Thor, there's that conflict there between Captain America and Iron Man. So you get that. Yeah. So there's like little tinges of that.
Yes.
In this movie.
Because they're not on the same page a lot still.
Yes.
And they're both alphas.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And really most of the core team members are, which is why I think it's sort of good that Thor's going back home and he's going to probably have his own thing to deal with. Mm-hmm. The Hulk's going to be out of it for a little bit, potentially. So we'll see some of these newer team members come in, and I think it'll shake some things up. What I really liked was when they showed Jarvis and then they showed Ultron in their digital forms. I thought that was really cool.
That was a really cool effect.
And when they showed him sort of taking over the internet, I felt that was a really cool way to actually visually show that part of the story and just drive the point home that, Jarvis is gone and now Ultron is everywhere. Something a former coworker had mentioned to me was that she felt that all of the scenes with Black Widow were a little odd. And I wasn't sure. And that kind of got me thinking about some of the framing with her being weird. But I wasn't, as I was watching it, I couldn't quite put my finger on it. She had said, well, Scarlett Johansson was pregnant during the filming of this.
Oh, wow. Was she?
Yeah. So they were having to use body doubles, and so, the scene with the bathrobe and everything. And there are just really weird scenes where you see her sitting down at a computer and
oh man, I didn't even notice that.
And when she said that to me, it all of a sudden made sense, and it was kind of like eating at me just a little bit.
You know, I didn't even notice that, but now that you mention it, there is a lot of scenes of them. They're doing that, upper torso shots. A lot of upper torso shots.
Black Widow.
Yeah,
so
that's true.
I thought that was kind of a clever workaround.
Yeah, it's something that they do in a lot of movies and TV shows, and usually I notice it. And so I think they must have did it much better in this one, because I usually notice, they're doing a lot of upper torso, like mid shots. It's kind of weird.
Like Halle Berry was pregnant in the last X-Men.
Yeah,
film,
right. So there's a lot of shots with her. Just like it's just kind of like these.
Yeah, they just kind of changed her costume, and the other thing I liked is the mid credits scene with. There was one nagging thing they didn't really get to, and that was that Stark and Banner did not successfully get Ultron working. Ultron just all of a sudden starts working.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And that was really bugging me until the mid-credit scene where you see the gauntlet.
Yeah, you see the Infinity Gauntlet. You see Thanos getting the Infinity Gauntlet, saying that he's just going to do it himself.
So I was like, "Oh, great! This explains that."
Yeah, mm-hmm. It's just
that was driving me crazy. I'm like, well, if they weren't that close, how did this happen?
Well, I can't wait for the Infinity War Part 1 and 2. It's going to be amazing to see Thanos in action finally.
Oh, God,
you know that he's dangerous.
Right.
And everybody seems to be afraid of him, but he shows up in all these movies and you're just like, well, you want to see him in action, and we're going to get that soon. Yeah. So I can't wait for that. Anything else?
I think that's it.
All right, Jones, so let's go ahead and get into the ratings. First of all, I think this movie is freaking awesome. You have to go see it. See it again, buy it, everything.
See it again, buy it. See it twice.
Fantastic movie. The movie is extremely character driven, which is a credit to Joss Whedon. So the characters drive the story in a way that just makes it both action packed and fun, and incredibly entertaining to watch. And I definitely plan on going to see it again.
The movie is very funny. It's very smart. I think it's really well thought out. And the whole movie is a roller coaster ride, and it's fun. It's, it definitely, we've been waiting so long to see the sequel. I think leaving the theaters from the first one.
Oh, yeah.
And, now I wish I just had more Avengers movies.
Yeah, I have no problem seeing some more Avengers movies, and we'll get some here in a little while. So.
Oh, yeah, and if they could start referring to mutants as mutants, that would be great.
That would be fantastic.
I would be, let's.
They keep calling them the twins.
The enhanced. They're mutants. Mutants isn't a dirty word. Please make that happen, Marvel.
I'm so tired of all that legal stuff. It's just annoys the heck out of me. It's ruining my cinematic universe, Jones.
Yes, they're mutants. Alright. Well, now that Ultron has been defeated and he's out of the internet, our new website is up. halfpasspodcast.com.
And send us an email at halfpastcast@gmail.com. That's halfpastcast@gmail.com.
Find us on Facebook and send us a message. It's so easy that the Hulk can do it.
This is the Half Past Podcast. I'm Graham Ricks.
Jonesy.
See you next week.